Hello, and welcome to a presentation by Miss Sparks' 5th grade of the play War Stories written by Mac Lewis, explaining the significance of Veterans Day. Scene 1.
Thanks for taking me to the Veterans Day parade, Grandma. It was really great. I liked the World War II tanks best of all.
How about those old motorcycles with sidecars?
Those were cool too. So were the marching bands, the floats, and all those flags. Veterans Day is more than just a day off from school. It's a lot of fun.
It does seem that way, but there's a lot more to Veterans Day than sleeping late and going to a parade.
What do you mean?
Come with me, Ashley. It's time we visited the Veterans Cemetery.
Why do so many of the graves have flowers on them?
Veterans Day is about honoring the men and women who have risked their lives to protect our freedom. Many people honor veterans by putting flowers on their graves.
But not all of them have flowers.
Sadly, many of our veterans have been forgotten. Our World War I vets are all gone, and most of our World War II vets have already died or are very old.
Here's a World War I veteran, Corporal Russell Williams.
I fought in the trenches with the 369th Infantry. Germans outnumbered us 3-1, but we never gave up.
We celebrate Veterans Day on November 11th because at 11 a.m. on that day in 1918, World War I officially ended. Veterans Day remembers that moment.
People told me not to make friends, but I did anyways. I lived to tell about it, but most of my friends died in the trenches.
Altogether, 65 million soldiers fought in that war. In World War II, there were even more. Many died.
Here's a World War II veteran. His name is Sergeant James Greffel.
I was with the 10th Armored Division fighting in France when the Germans started bombing. We took over in the basement of an old church. The bombing went on all night. German paratroopers were dropping in all around us.
Veterans Day used to be called Armistice Day. An armistice is a truce, an end to the fighting. It's what every soldier hoped for.
We were cold, hungry, and scared. When things like that, you do some serious thinking about the people you love.
Here's another, Private William Corbett.
So many of our buddies died. One day the captain and his jeep driver went to the top of a church steeple. Hoping to locate the enemy fire, the Germans spotted them and laid a shell right on the steeple.
In 1954, Armistice Day was changed to Veterans Day. It became a day to honor all the soldiers who risked their lives to protect America's freedom.
The captain was the kindest man I'd ever met.
Why are they called World Wars?
Because there was fighting all over the world. 68 nations were involved in World War II. More than 60 million people died.
I always played war as a kid, but it was nothing like the real thing. None of us wanted to be there. I remember being at Iwo Jima. I was climbing out of a bunker when a Japanese mortar exploded a few feet away.
It sounds like war is serious business.
I'm sure this man thinks so.
I was with the C Company of the 358th. I won a Bronze Star for crawling under fire to reach a wounded member of my squad. Thankfully, his wounds weren't too bad. Another soldier wasn't so lucky. We had to leave him for brave people to pick up. What a shame.
Every veteran has a story to tell.
I wonder what this man's story is.
I was with the 90th Infantry. One night while on patrol, I got shot in the shoulder. I started to walk back to camp, but I got lost in the darkness. I decided to crawl into an empty foxhole to wait for the morning. A little later, I heard a noise. I was about to shoot when I saw it. It was only a little dog making noise. The mutt jumped into the hole and curled up beside me.
Their stories are part of America's history, but because they haven't been written down, many veterans take their stories to the grave.
When the sun came up, I went for help, but the dog tugged at my legs and tried to get me to go the other way. He made such a buzz, but finally I turned it around and followed it. As it turned out, the dog led me back to camp. Had I gone the way I'd planned, I would have walked right up to the Germans.
Why don't they break them down?
Yeah, I fought in the war. That's all I care to say about it.
For many veterans, it's just too painful.
One
What's there to tell? That I had to shoot people, that my best buddy was right beside me 1 second and gone the next, or that no one would give me a job when the war was over. It's awful stuff. Why relive it?
For others, people don't realize how important it is until after the soldier has passed away.
Look here, Grandma's a woman, Lieutenant Lawrence Mekowitz.
I was a wave, a woman in the U.S. Navy. I worked at a hospital in England. A lot of the wounded were suffering from shell shock. Some of them thought we were on the other side, so they wouldn't tell us anything, but their names and serial numbers. They were just farm boys. The shock of war was too much for them.
Many women have served in the military. Their stories are important too.
After D-Day, when our troops landed in Western Europe, the Germans began shooting buzz bombs at England. If we were bombed, we were to pull all the patients on the floor and push them under the bed, putting their helmets on first. He would hear the buzz bomb whizzing. Suddenly, its engine would stop, and we'd wait in terror for the explosion. Thank goodness we were spared.
Almost everyone knows someone who fought in a war to defend our country, our freedom, or our way of life.
Petty Officer 3rd Class Charles Journalist.
I was aboard the USS Missouri. When Japan surrendered at the end of World War II, all I could think about was how glad I was the war was finally over. We were all glad to finally be home.
Maybe it's your grandfather or an aunt or an uncle or a neighbor. One way of thanking them is to share their stories. When we hear their stories, we remember their sacrifices.
Lieutenant Colonel William E. Lewis. Grandma, isn't this grandfather's gravestone?
Yes, it is, Ashley. Grandfather had stories to tell too. I think it's time you learned some of them. That's what Veterans Day is all about.
Thank you.
Thank you, Florence.